My name is Gail Muller and I'm in Cornwall, UK, and I am an author, a part-time adventurer, and I have been an educator and a writer for many years. And I'm the author of two books. My first was a memoir called Unlost, and the second is Do Hope, and I'm currently working on my third. When I was a young girl in my early teens, I was told by a specialist doctor that because of the shape of my feet and how I walked, I would likely be in a wheelchair by the time I was about 20, or latterly maybe 40 years old, and a pain may start to hit my life quite badly around the age of 20. I dismissed that because I was a very young girl and I didn't want to hear it. And also, I was very fit and having a whale of a time running cross country, swimming for my school. It wasn't until actually my early 20s that I began to experience pain. It wasn't the pain itself. The word chronic came into my life at about 21, 22, and I had to accept and understand properly and thoroughly what it meant to be chronically unwell. And up until that time, I believed in a world where everybody might have an answer to every problem, especially in medical problems. I'd never questioned that people wouldn't know what to do or what was wrong. One of the other bewildering things, going alongside there not being a solution for me, was that there wasn't even a label or a name to give me. It was undiagnosable. Initially, it was because my feet were born, when I was born, they turned in slightly. And then I was told it was because my posture wasn't great. And then it was, I over-exercised and pulled something in my spine. And I had injections in my spine. I had every intervention you could possibly imagine. And nothing really helped until something did help in my early 30s in Italy on the shores of Lake Como, actually. But it took me about, you know, maybe I was 33, 34 by that point. So you're looking at nearly 15 years of dead ends, wanting to give up, pain that made me want to die, chronic loneliness, isolation, a very social young woman turning into a very, very unhappy person who wore a mask on the outside to try to keep up appearances, but was absolutely dying away inside, and pain was pretty much every day, all the time, all I ever thought about. Firstly was just vim and vigor and forcing myself to believe there would be an answer, and I just had to look harder to find the right person with the right answer. Then when that was eroded, that belief, after trying as many people as I could possibly find, I leaned into the idea that new developments happen all the time in life and that everything is always evolving, and even if I can't find an answer now, there is always potential to have an answer evolve in front of me. As I'm at the bleeding edge of it, it might suddenly come, but I have to be hopeful and open to it. I really tried to find ways to stay in the world in some way, even when I was retreating and depressed and low and isolated. And I did that through nature. So nature became my church, really, my constant companion, even when I couldn't leave my bed. It was the birds outside the window, the tree that moved in the wind, that changed colour in the light, that the leaves changed and came back, you know? And when I was able to get outdoors, it was noticing how resilient nature is, how if there's a storm and a tree loses a branch, that it doesn't completely fall apart and die. It finds a way to heal that and turn it into something beautiful as the tree grows again and those scars sprout new life. I just had faith in the seasonality of my pain and my ability to recover, and that new shoots would come. And that and a desperate passion for my vocation, which is to teach and to support people. So of all the things I had to surrender, I refused to surrender my teaching career at the time, and worked with young people, lots of them who were very badly off and from very difficult homes and backgrounds. I would work with those young people and I would tell them to have hope, and they would come to me and tell me their situations, and I would listen and empathize, but also always tell them that I could see them and that they had potential and they just needed to hang on. In my worst times, I remember thinking, if I have the gumption to tell those young people who believed me with all good faith, and they hung on because they believed me and they went on to do wonderful things, then how could I not believe the same thing? I have to live what I teach. And so I did, and those kinds of ways of thinking eventually got me through to an incredible teaching position where I was seconded by the British government to the European Commission as a representative of excellence in British teaching. And it was over there in the school I was posted to in Italy that I found a chiropractor who worked with a dentist who were introducing brand new modalities that hadn't really hit the mainstream at all. They were pioneering it, looking at people's jaw, TMJ, and bite, and how that affected. At the time, they were looking at high-end sport. David Beckham, Kim Clijsters, the tennis player, would fly in from America. They would work with these high-end sports people to give them longevity in their careers by changing and working with their bite to help their musculature. And then they started realizing the impact that could have for people who might have chronic pain, and actually working with the jaw and the teeth and the TMJ could get people's pain to diminish. And that's what we did. And so I wore braces for 2 years, worked with them all the time, and it got better. And then I was able to walk again. I learned that resilience is having the internal strength to stop when you have to rest, even if that feels like failure, to gather yourself and to not beat yourself up and feel shame whilst you're doing so, but to use it as a period of gathering. And a second phase of resilience is when you're feeling better in whatever capacity that might be, that you're able to go and try that thing again, should you want to, even if you have to start a little bit further back than where you got off, whatever project it might have been, to go again. I also definitely learned that rest is really good for you, and that actually culturally we're brought up to think that rest is lazy, or we're always on and it's no good for us. And actually, again, in nature, on the AT, where you don't have, or on the Continental Divide or any of the other trails I've hiked or hiked parts of, the sun goes down and you're out. That's it. You get in your tent, you haven't got your TV and your lights to put on, and the sun comes up and you're up and you go. So rest, nature tells us, the day and the night tells us, go to bed, get up. And there's a long period of go to bed that's dark, which you should be resting in, and that's okay. You're never too late. I was 40 when I started the Appalachian Trail, I'm 48 now, and I've got so much more left in me. I've got so many adventures I'm just starting. It's never too late at any age to be courageous and to learn some new things and to humble yourself and to not be ossified, because the more ossified you get in your beliefs and how you live, the more easy it is to break. You need to be like sapling brain your whole life, I think, so you're always slightly bending with the tides and learning. To have courage and to have enough heart to be able to make it to the next day and the next week, that's sustainable to the point where you will find something down the line that will cause you to have a remission of pain or will really help you. I do believe that, or a way to manage it that makes you be able to thrive in your life. The way to feel better about the terrible situation you're in is honestly to try to find something to do for somebody else to help them. And I really think that people might sometimes go, I don't have any energy, I don't have any spoons left, I have nothing left to give, and I never go out and I'm useless to the world. But actually, you will always be able to find a way to help someone or something, even if it's picking some litter up from your garden that helps the animals or nature, or if it's putting a bowl of water out in a heat wave for a bird, or if it's smiling at somebody out of your window or in the street that may not have had a single piece of human interaction that week because they're so lonely. You don't know that by looking at people. So reaching outside of yourself to lift someone else will honestly boomerang back into your life in ways that you do not know. You are still a useful, wonderful human being with love and energy to put out, even when you feel you're at your very worst. Get to know yourself where you are rather than waiting to get back to who you were, because we're never going to be who we were. We can only be who we are today. Be your own best friend, be captain of your own team, and step forward with yourself into whatever today might bring you, because there will be gold out there for you to find. You just have to be willing to shuffle forward a little bit.